Welcome to the Revamp Blog. Today we have Brittany, CEO B360 Baltimore. Thank you for coming, Brittany.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, tell me about your business. Tell me about this organization that you started.
So B360 changed the perception of engineers and dirt bike riders. So we have 4 main programs. The first being STEM education, with the idea that mechanics and mechanical engineers are different, to get more students into the STEM field, to work with dirt bike riders, but to also provide solutions instead of the criminalization of dirt bike riders.
Okay.
We also do community engagement, again, around the issue of dirt bikes themselves, to come up with better metrics and better ways of engaging that community. Workforce development, again, that means jobs for the future, but also jobs right now, where Baltimore has 122,000 mid-level STEM jobs where you do not need a 4-year degree. And then we also provide, and you ain't forget, events. So events in the style of motocross and dirt bike riding. So like large-scale events with different partners.
Awesome. No worries. So what made you start this organization?
For me, I'm from Baltimore, specifically West Baltimore. So dirt bike riding is a part of our culture. It's a part of who we are as Black people in this city. We look up to dirt bike riders, but also it's always such a negative thing. And for me, I have a problem when stuff that we naturally like to do is seen as negative. And then in Baltimore, we have a city ordinance. So it's a misdemeanor for riding on the streets, a misdemeanor for riding on private property, a misdemeanor for owning a dirt bike. So I also saw that this was an opportunity to create a better solution for this community, for the organization as a whole, but to also provide real world solutions instead of criminalization, which is not a solution. But to also lessen some of the tension between the riders, the community and the riders, but also the riders and the police, where we're like that middle ground, that incubator between different voices and between different things. And then I'm also an engineer. So my first position, I was seen as secretary. So again, it's always that perception of who looks like what and who can do what.
Right.
And then only 5% of all engineers are Black or Latino. So I also saw this as the perfect way to get more students that look like me into the STEM field, but also at the same time making sure that we change the narrative around who does what. And then I also work for Baltimore City Community College.
Wow.
So we have a STEM Scholars Program. It's books, tuition, internship at NASA on a community college level, which is unheard of.
Really?
And very low barrier. But again, the issue was, how do you get students to come into STEM when they're not seeing it as that? So by making sure that we identified something that people naturally like to do with STEM education, we create a low barrier mind frame around STEM is attainable.
Wow, that is awesome. What I see that's kind of challenging here is that how are you able to mend and correlate STEM engineering with dirt bike? Right.
I think that was the easiest part. I think the harder part is allowing people to see that the two actually do relate. So a lot of dirt bike riders are actually mechanics. Like they have full-time positions and entrepreneurship positions as mechanics. When I was younger, they were teaching us, other kids, how to ride bikes, but more importantly too, how to fix them, because bikes have motors and they break down.
Right.
So a lot of dirt bike riders have the hard skills of mechanics and then need soft skills to become mechanical engineers. So that's what we provide during our education program. But again, it's just something that people naturally do, but they weren't shown how, again, by repairing a dirt bike, how it falls into the engineering design process. So that's what we help make the correlation between.
Awesome. So how do you plan to remove this negative stigma about dirt bike riding in the city and kind of create a positive image and light to it?
I think the first is people think it's negative. So I think we should stop thinking it does not have positive attributes, because it does.
Right.
So a lot of dirt bike riders, of course, there are always going to be some that want to ride on the street. There are always going to be some that do different things, but crime life and bike life is not synonymous, just like skateboarding and crime is not synonymous, just like motorcycles and crime is not synonymous, or pedal bikes and crime are not synonymous. Like a lot of pedal bikes get stolen every day, but we still have bike lanes.
True.
A lot of people still get killed over pedal bikes, but we still have bike lanes and bike parties and all this other kind of stuff. So I think as an organization, we want to provide voices to people that do believe in safety, equity, and responsibility. So all of our students ride with helmets, but the law too in Maryland is you don't have to ride with a helmet for officering vehicle, but we require our students to do so. And then we also work with dirt bike riders who are retired from riding the streets, but also want to be that positive voice and teach kids the right way, which is to go to a safe space if we can create one to change the laws. but also want to mentor because they believe that when you pick up a dirt bike, which is 12 o'clock, is a way to keep students off the streets. So you pick up a dirt bike to put a gun down. So these are the kind of voices we want to uplift so people can stop saying that's just a negative thing, because a couple of people may have done stuff the wrong way, but bike life and crime life are not synonymous.
That is very true. So what impact or what is the feedback that you receive from your organization? What are people saying about your organization?
Usually good stuff. I think, at first people are always asking me like how, why, dirt bikes and engineering, how does that go together? But there also is like a pedal bike company that does STEM education with pedal bikes, and those don't have motors. So again, it goes back to is that correlation that dirt bike ride is how we see them in the city. It's just negative. So our impact though, regardless, has been really good. We've worked with 1,200 students from March of this year until September of this year, which is good, through being in community engaging, the pop-up dirt bike clinics. We've been fortunate enough to be in 4 different fellowship opportunities too. So the first one was the Elevation Awards for Baltimore Co with T. Rowe Price, which gave us $10,000.
Wow.
But then again, this was just an idea.
Right.
The second one was the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, Social Innovation Lab.
Okay.
And it provided us like hard programming towards gaining access, gaining resources, but also building out my idea and actually piloting it.
Okay.
And the next one was the Warnock Foundation. And then the last one was the Red Bull and Pico. So we're in that now for 2 years, the first U.S. fellowship by Red Bull, period.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And we've been able to connect with, again, people from like T. Rowe Price to Hopkins to the mayor's office. So just like a wide range of people to provide in-kind resources. So we also hosted the first like dirt bike event. We had to go to Southern Maryland for this, and like Red Bull helped with that, do it all in kind. Wow. So none of my students paid, none of the riders paid, and it was really good, really positive. So stuff like this is what we want to bring to Baltimore. It's just we also need to work on advocacy around changing the laws and better practices too, so we can do those for more cities.
I see. How are you able to manage your time and run this organization now? I can just imagine how busy you are.
Yes. So I am very passionate. So the passion is, of course, what keeps me going. But 2, I have a good network of people that I can call on. So a good network of volunteers. So STEM volunteers, rider volunteers, community members. So we work with about 30 to 40 different volunteers. But I also, this was my first year. After this year, I want to get more funding so I can actually hire people. So I want to build up my staff, build up my capacity, because we also have a long wait list of students.
Okay.
And so realistically, without a program manager, I can't really grow. So my next step would be to hire a program manager to keep my passion, to get more sleep.
Right.
But to also just make sure I lessen some of my load by bringing on more people. So I want to be able to staff people coming soon.
Okay. So just to piggy on that, what are your goals for the next 5 to 10 years?
So we do 3, 4, 5, 10, and 15.
Okay.
Right. So by next year, I want to get enough funding again dirt bike rides are in our model, so I want to be able to hire the ones that we have as volunteers to do work for us, to build more relationships with people. In the short term, to work on hopefully influencing some of the laws and decisions around, again, what we do as an organization, how the law itself affects the progress of our work. While we have worked with 1,200 students, I honestly could have worked with a lot more if the law was less restrictive. To have a permanent space in Baltimore, to expand in the next 5 years to other cities, again, because Baltimore is the capital, it's the mecca of dirt bikes, but the culture here influences other cities. So that means going to Cleveland, who has already built their dirt bike park, going to Oakland, going to Paris, going to Japan, going wherever people have dirt bike riders and want to better engage them. And to also hone on how do you create like a curriculum and package it. So also like we're a social enterprise, so I want to be able to make sure I have a package that's for sale for people to buy into and for teachers to use to better engage their students around culturally sensitive material. And then lastly would be to host events, maybe with Red Bull,
right,
in the style of X Games or motocross,
okay,
to make sure I continue to funnel into like the nonprofit work we do in the communities and make sure it's free. So like a whole new style of riding or a whole new sport based around dirt bikes.
Wow, that is awesome. It seems like, from what I understand, it's like you're probably the only one like in Baltimore City that's kind of focused on this. You have the focus initiative of STEM research, STEM students focus on engineering, as well as teaching them, and then helping society understand that this is not a negative thing. This can be a very positive thing. I really appreciate what you're doing. So could you tell people where they can find you? Where they can find your organization on social media or Facebook or?
We're everywhere now. So we are on Facebook at B360 Baltimore, b360baltimore.org for the website, and Twitter at B360BALT, and Instagram at B360 Baltimore.
That is awesome. So what would you want to leave your viewers with? What would you leave them with?
Of course, if they can donate today, it's only $200 to sponsor a student, 2014. But more importantly, better engage yourself with the riders that are in communities. Think more out of the box about solutions. That solutions, again, should never equal criminalization, and that's the main thing.
Right.
That I have students that range from a pre-K girl, she's 4, to a 65-year-old man who wants to be in the program too. You know, so how do we better make inclusive solutions for this demographic where we don't just lock them away? And when you see them, you should see me, just like a lot of people don't see me as an engineer. So it's like, also now all of my students want to become engineers, so there'll be more of me around. So we need to think about how do we better accommodate them going forward.
Awesome. Well, guys, you heard it from her. Thank you, Brittany, for coming. We appreciate you having you here. Guys, please follow her, donate, and just participate and be more aware of what's going on in your city and your environment, and support B360.
Thank you.
Thank you.